Do the rich pay their fair share of taxes? Yes, the top quintiles of earners pay all of the taxes. America has an extremely progressive tax system. Number one, the top earning households in America already pay very high effective tax rates for federal income taxes. The effective tax rates for upper middle class and upper class earners can be as high as 25% to 37% or more. Meanwhile, average income earners might only pay an effective tax rate of anywhere from 0% to 20% on average, and many people actually have a negative tax rate. Besides the federal income tax, at the state and local level, the effective tax rate is relatively flat for all income classes, ranging from 7% to 11%. These local tax rates are based on flat consumption taxes like a sales tax or property taxes based on home values. Everyone is taxed equally based on consumption, and in that regard, they are a fair tax for everyone. Number two, the top earners in America pay the vast majority of the federal income tax burden. The top 25% of earners pay upwards of 90% of the total U.S. federal income tax, which generates trillions of dollars in revenue per year. Meanwhile, the bottom quintiles pay virtually none of the nation's tax burden. Number three, most people are net negative taxpayers, and only the top earners are actually net positive taxpayers. Being a net negative taxpayer means they will always receive back more from the government than they will ever pay into the system. Meanwhile, the top earners in the US are the only people who are net positive taxpayers, meaning they will pay more into the system than they will ever receive back. This, by definition, means that the rich are paying their fair share more than anyone else. The tax and spending system of the US federal government fundamentally functions as wealth redistribution, where money flows from the top earning quintiles to the bottom earning quintiles and bottom earning households. This is because tax systems heavily tax rich people and heavily pay out benefits to the middle class and lower middle class through welfare programs. The majority of households in America from approximately the 50th percentile and below have a negative tax rate at a federal level. Meanwhile, the tax rates for the top earning quintiles can easily be anywhere from 25% to as high as 50%. The rich pay their fair share. Number four, payroll FICA taxes are actually a progressive tax system, not regressive. Payroll taxes like Social Security and Medicare, where 15% of your payroll income is paid into FICA, are progressive tax systems, where higher earners pay much more into the system than they will ever receive back from the government. Meanwhile, those who pay the least into the payroll tax system, like with Social Security, will receive more back than they ever paid in. So while payroll taxes are only paid on income up to $150,000, after accounting for the money received back over a person's lifetime, the Social Security system acts as yet another progressive tax system, where the more productive you are, the less you receive back. Number five, supporters of taxing the rich claim that in the 1950s, the tax rates were as high as 90% on rich people and the economy still boomed. This is false, because this 90% tax rate was simply a marginal tax rate. In reality, the effective tax rate for the highest earning Americans has consistently been between 30% to 45%. The tax rate on the rich was not 90% in the 1950s. The tax rate for the highest earning income quintiles has generally been about 50% at its maximum. Only the final effective tax rate, after all tax deductions and calculations, matter. The marginal tax rate of 90% does not matter. Claims about tax rates on the top earners being 90% in the 1950s and the economy still booming are completely false. Attempting to raise the tax rate on the highest earners any higher would probably discourage people from working whenever they hit a marginal tax hike, meaning the economy shrinks and tax revenue drops dramatically. You cannot just raise taxes to 100% in an attempt to raise more tax revenue. Number six, people claim that billionaires pay $0 per year in taxes, so even a school teacher pays a higher tax rate than the rich. This is false. Billionaires often have all their net worth in the stock of the company they built, so taxes on the stock are never paid until they try to sell it in the stock market. Their net worth only exists on paper, and it does not actually exist until it is sold on the stock market. Once the stock is actually sold, they will likely pay a tax rate of upwards of 50% if it is taxed as ordinary income, or taxed at a rate of 20% if it is long-term capital gains. While it's true that the top 10% of households usually make all of their money directly through income, which is taxed highly, people often focus on the fact that the top 0.1% are billionaires, who make all their money through their stock portfolio, meaning they can sit on their stock gains and not pay capital gains until they sell it. For this reason, people claim that billionaires, who do not have direct income but rather stock wealth, do not pay taxes at all. This is economically misguided in multiple ways. Firstly, selling tens of billions of dollars of stock in a single year is likely impossible because the liquidity of the stock market generally cannot sustain such heavy, rapid selling, and the value of their stock could be cut in half very rapidly. The tens of billions of dollars in net worth on paper would evaporate overnight. Next, people complain about the buy, borrow, die strategy, which allows millionaires and billionaires to evade taxes and just take out a loan using their stock assets as collateral. This is not a tax loophole. This is simply a regular loan, the exact same type of loan that middle class people can take out against their own assets, where they will then pay interest on the loan and eventually pay back the loan. Next, let's assume a billionaire never sells a single dollar of their $100 billion fortune held in stocks. Did that billionaire contribute $0 in tax revenue to the economy? Not at all. Let's use Mark Zuckerberg as an example. He currently has a net worth of $225 billion. Assuming he never sells any stock for the next 100 years, his tax rate on paper appears to be 0%. An entrepreneur like Mark Zuckerberg built his company from zero, turning it into a $2 trillion company. This was new value created in the economy from scratch by him. Just in 2024, Meta paid about $8 billion in corporate income tax. After adding in other taxes, such as state sales tax and employee payroll taxes, The business of Meta, in just 1 year, can potentially pay tens of billions of dollars of tax revenue into the economy. This means that effectively a billionaire founder like Mark Zuckerberg is contributing tens of billions of dollars of pure profit into the tax system every year, before even selling a single dollar of his founding stock. Then, once he does sell it, his capital gains tax rate will be about 20% to 25%, or more. The accusations of billionaires and millionaires contributing nothing to the economy in taxes is economically illiterate. Number 7. People claim that corporations pay $0 per year in taxes. This is false. Most of the time, this is due to corporations using their capital losses from previous years to offset their capital gains once they become profitable. Other than that, they might take advantage of tax breaks, which incentivize research and development and general economic growth. Once they do have profits, they will pay corporate tax, which is a tax rate of about 20%. But regardless of the corporate income tax, the individual employees are paying taxes on their payroll income, which is significant tax revenue, as well as the company paying significant sales tax revenue for the state they are running transactions in. Companies like Amazon pay a massive amount of sales tax revenue to every US state. Number 8. Would taxing the rich finally pay for a socialist utopia? Seizing 100% of all the billionaire wealth couldn't pay for ideas like free healthcare or free housing. People focus on taxing the rich because they assume it'll allow us to finally have a socialist utopia, finally achieving free healthcare for everyone. This assumption is false. If you seize 100% of all billionaire wealth in America, you would seize about $6 trillion. Let's even assume you're able to liquidate all that $6 trillion, which is in the stock market. You would pay for a grand total of 1 year of US government spending because every year about $6 trillion is spent, with upwards of $4 trillion being spent on the welfare state alone, on programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. No amount of taxation on the wealthy could ever fund programs like free housing or free healthcare for everyone. At best, you could secure maybe a few $100 billion more per year from wealth taxes on the rich, but this amount of money is small compared to the cost of socialist programs like Medicare for All and other big government programs. Meanwhile, the true core responsibilities of the government, like the military, roads, police, and fire, are actually a relatively minor percentage of the total federal and state budget. If you just stuck to these basic government responsibilities, tax rates could be significantly lower than they are now. Funding gigantic government programs like free healthcare for everyone or free housing for everyone are programs that would skyrocket taxes not on just the highest earners, but also the middle class. In places like Europe, with gigantic welfare states, the tax burden of an everyday person can easily be 50% or higher. There's simply no way to fund gigantic free government programs without both the rich and the middle class paying high taxes for it. The reason people focus on socialist programs such as nationalized free healthcare is because they believe that taxing the rich will easily pay for it. As we have covered, this is clearly false. But besides the mathematical reality of the situation that rich people money can't pay for free services like healthcare, there is a much better approach than taxing the rich to pay for free healthcare. The focus should not be on having nationalized free healthcare paid for by the rich. The focus should be on making healthcare as cheap as possible, reducing the overall price of healthcare for everyone dramatically. There are very easy economic methods to make healthcare and housing prices drop dramatically. Watch my videos on housing and healthcare. The way to make these sectors more affordable and more accessible on a universal level is not to nationalize them and make them free for everyone through taxes paid for by the rich. This is economically misguided and misses root causes. Taxing the rich will not pay for free government programs. In summary, we can see that all the claims about rich people not paying their taxes are completely and totally false. The top earning quintiles in America are the only net positive taxpayers.